In the heart of a mist-shrouded mountain, nestled among ancient pines and whispering waterfalls, stood a solitary temple. For centuries, it was a place of pilgrimage for those seeking not just knowledge, but true wisdom. It was here that our story begins, with a young scholar, brilliant and ambitious, who believed he knew almost everything there was to know. His name was Liang, and he had traveled 1,000 miles on foot to challenge the legendary master of the mountain temple. A man known only as the Old Sage, Liang arrived at the temple gates, his robes dusty from the journey but his eyes sharp with intellectual pride. He had studied the classics, memorized thousands of poems, and debated the finest scholars in the capital. He came not to learn, but to prove his own worth, to show this famed master that a new generation of brilliance had arrived. He found the old sage sweeping fallen leaves in the courtyard, a simple man with a serene smile and eyes that seemed to hold the depth of the sky. "Master," Liang announced, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet courtyard. "I am Liang. I have come to learn the secrets of your wisdom." He said the words, but his tone implied he was merely here to confirm what he already knew. The old sage stopped sweeping, looked at Liang, and his smile widened. "Welcome, young one. Your journey must have been long. Come, let us have some tea." They sat in a small, sparse room, a low wooden table between them. The old sage moved with a slow, deliberate grace, heating the water, warming the tiny clay cups, and carefully pouring the fragrant tea. Liang grew impatient. He hadn't come all this way for a tea ceremony. He wanted to discuss philosophy, to debate the nature of the Tao, to showcase his formidable intellect. "Master," he began again, unable to hold back his eagerness, "I have read the works of Laozi and Zhuangzi. I have contemplated the meaning of Wu Wei, the principle of non-action. I believe that true strength lies in understanding the complexities of the universe, and I have dedicated my life to this pursuit." He spoke at length, outlining his theories, quoting ancient texts, and subtly correcting what he perceived as the simplistic views of past philosophers. The old sage listened patiently, nodding occasionally, his gaze never leaving Liang's face. All the while, he continued to pour tea into Liang's cup. The amber liquid filled the small vessel, rose to the brim, and then began to overflow, spilling onto the wooden table and dripping onto the floor. Liang was so engrossed in his own speech that he didn't notice at first. But as the hot tea pooled around his hands, he finally stopped, startled. "Master, what are you doing? The cup is full. It cannot hold any more," he exclaimed, pulling his hands away. The old sage set down the teapot and looked at Liang, his eyes twinkling. "Indeed," he said softly. "Like this cup you have come to me for. You are full of your own opinions, your own knowledge, your own preconceptions. How can I show you anything new when your cup is already overflowing?" Liang stared at the spilled tea, then at his own hands, and finally at the master's calm face. In that moment, the master's simple actions spoke louder than all the books he had ever read. The words hit him not as an insult, but as a profound revelation. He had come seeking wisdom, yet he had brought no space to receive it. His mind, so proud of its fullness, was actually a barrier. He saw his own arrogance reflected in the overflowing cup. He had believed that knowledge was a treasure to be accumulated, a fortress to be built. He never considered that it could also be a prison, locking him away from true understanding. The old sage had not debated him, had not tried to prove him wrong with words. Instead, he had shown him the truth in a way that bypassed the intellect and struck the heart. "An empty cup can be filled," the old sage continued, his voice as gentle as the mountain breeze. "A full cup can only spill. To learn, you must first be willing to unlearn. To gain wisdom, you must first be willing to be empty." Liang bowed his head, a wave of humility washing over him, cleansing the pride that had clouded his vision for so long. For the first time on his journey, he felt not like a scholar, but like a student, a true beginner. He looked at the master, his eyes no longer sharp with challenge, but soft with a newfound respect and a genuine desire to learn. "Master," he said, his voice quiet and sincere, "please, teach me how to empty my cup." And so Liang's real journey began. He stayed at the temple, not as a visiting scholar, but as a humble student. He learned to sweep the leaves not as a chore, but as a meditation on presence. He learned to listen to the silence between the master's words, finding more wisdom there than in any scroll. He learned that true knowledge wasn't about having all the answers, but about being open to all the questions. The story of Liang and the overflowing cup is more than just an ancient tale. It's a timeless lesson for every single one of us. How often do we enter a conversation, a new job, or a new relationship with our cups already full? Full of our own judgments, our past experiences, our certainty that we already know best. We are so eager to pour our own knowledge out that we leave no room to receive anything new. This is the paradox of growth. It begins not with adding, but with subtracting. It starts with the courage to say, I don't know. It thrives on curiosity, not certainty. Think about it. The greatest scientists were not those who knew everything, but those who were brave enough to question everything. The most innovative artists were not those who followed the rules, but those who were willing to start with a blank canvas, an empty space. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's the ability to set aside your ego, that voice in your head that constantly wants to be right, to be seen, to be validated. When you empty your cup, you create a space for connection, for empathy, for genuine discovery. You start to listen not just to reply, but to understand. You begin to see the world not as a reflection of your own beliefs, but as it truly is, full of wonder and possibility. So I ask you, what is your cup full of right now? Is it full of assumptions about what you can or cannot do? Is it overflowing with judgments about other people? Is it filled to the brim with the belief that your way is the only way? Maybe it's time to pour some of it out. Maybe it's time to embrace the power of being a beginner again. Whether you're learning a new skill, navigating a difficult conversation, or simply trying to understand yourself better, start by emptying your cup. Approach it with the wonder of a child, with the humility of a true student. Because greatness doesn't come from pretending we already have all the answers. It comes from the quiet, courageous act of making space for them. An empty mind is not a sign of weakness. It is the fertile ground where wisdom can finally take root and grow. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the mountains of the mind. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more reflections on wisdom and growth. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What will you do to empty your cup this week? Until next time, stay curious and stay open.